Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1998 Represent. On this episode, we're taking a look at Bulworth. So, this is a movie. I remember seeing the trailer for this movie quite often back in '98. I remember seeing it probably on when I'll be watching like WCW Monday Nitro or Raw is War. Um, Never got around to seeing the movie. It's streaming on, saw it on HBO Max. I watched it a couple nights ago. It's pretty good. Got some notes here for us. We just open up this book here to our notes. So it was first released on May 15th, 1998. One place says May 15th. Another place says May 22nd. So I'm not really sure which one is the actual release date. But yeah, either May 15th or May 22nd, depending on where you look. It is written and directed by Warren Beatty, and I think up to that point, the only thing I had seen Warren Beatty in was probably like Dick Tracy. I kind of had known about like movies like Bonnie and Clyde from reading about those in like a film class I had in high school, and then a lot of times on like some of the AFI like top 100 movies lists or like some of those TV specials, they would mention Bonnie and Clyde. But up to that point, I think 1990s Dick Tracy was like the only thing I had probably seen him in. Let's see here. It actually did not do very well financially. I think it cost around $30 million to make the movie, and according to some research, it only grossed about $29.2 million, so probably a flop at the box office. Like I said, they didn't even really make its budget back. I guess Warren Beatty first had come up with the idea of the film in 1992, and then, or first pitched it in 1992, and then eventually then decided to add the political spin to it, to where he basically had like a kind of like an outline, and then decided to make the movie more about politics. I guess did a couple rewrites. Apparently, Aaron Sorkin also reportedly did a rewrite on the movie as well, from like The Social Network and a bunch of other films. He wanted to make a movie. Warren Beatty wanted to make a movie about politics, and says it got basically politics had become too obsessed with polls and fundraising. It had kind of like lost sight of what the actual issues in politics were. And I think this film is actually pretty relevant to kind of like current politics as well. It's 25 years old, probably older than that. If you look at this, probably the screenplay was probably written, like I said, Warren Beatty had the idea in 1992, and then over a few years got it to where it was going to be about politics, but it's actually very politically relevant, I guess I could say. So yeah, there's some stuff in there that it actually is like it fits very well with kind of like what's going on with politics currently, or just like the world in general. It's got a great script. Like Warren Beatty at multiple points in the movie is actually doing these press conferences and interviews on the like political shows and all that and debates, and he's doing them all by rapping what he is talking about, rapping about the issues. And I don't know how much of that was actually just, if any of it was just kind of like improv, if it was all in the screenplay, or like how much of it was actually done on stage. Because like I don't really see Warren Beatty really rapping, but it's a very interesting kind of just like thing he's got going on, where he is like rapping through these interviews and press conferences, and rapping about the kind of political issues that his character has witnessed or is like running against or running for, or whatever it might be. So an excellent script, and like Warren Beatty does a really good job playing this character and rapping at these events. Going to do a basic plot kind of synopsis of the movie. So it starts off, and of course, spoilers. So this movie is 25 years old. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend pausing this and watching it on, if you have HBO Max, that's where you can watch it. He is, I think it's Jay Billington Bulworth is his character. He is a senator in California. I think he's running for re-election. And he basically is super depressed. He puts out a hit on himself, and he basically wants to have a life insurance policy pay out to his daughter, and I think it's like a $10 million life insurance policy. And he obviously, if he like kills himself or something like that, that policy doesn't go off. So he basically hires a guy to hire a hitman to basically take him out, and then this life insurance policy would go in. He's in a marriage with his wife. I forget the wife's name in the movie, but they're not. It's not a very happy marriage. They kind of only keep it up for appearances. And it starts off in Washington, and then eventually he goes out to the state that he's running in, which is California, and doesn't really want to do these like town hall meetings and all that. Gets up in a church in I think like South Central Los Angeles, and kind of just says a lot of stuff that upsets a lot of the people there. Goes to a fundraiser at a I think it's like somebody like a studio executive or like basically the Hollywood industry. Kind of insults them. Basically says, like the movies that you guys are making now are trash. Like, why would anybody see these movies? And at this time, he's just like eating a bunch of like crab cakes. And one of the trailers, definitely remember the trailer, seeing one of the trailers where he was at that church and then at this fundraiser, just kind of really upsetting the people that he was hanging out with. And then he goes to another thing. Basically, they goes to a bar. He meets up with Halle Berry's character. They basically dance the night away with a bunch of other characters, and then they go to another press conference or something like that. And the person that's actually doing the hitman job is actually there trying to rig a railing in a hotel balcony to collapse and stuff like that. And then basically he goes all over the city and then basically sees parts of the city that are not very well represented. A lot of it basically goes into these black communities and actually sees how, the struggles that they have and all this kind of stuff. And then eventually kind of changes his tune. And about partway through the movie, he tries to cancel the hitman job on him. And the guy's like, they call it the Weekend Research Project. That's like the code name for it. He tries to cancel it. The guy who he had arranged it initially has a heart attack and it never gets canceled. So the person that is actually responsible for it, this kind of came as a surprise. Is actually Halle Berry's character was one of the characters that was supposed to get him up to that hotel room earlier in the movie, and then the other guy was going to basically just rig the thing to have him fall off the building or whatever it was. They go to various other interviews. They're also followed by people from his team. One guy's played by Oliver Platt. Sean Astin, I don't know how he's in the movie. He is a videographer. He's basically just carrying around the camera the entire time. He doesn't have a whole lot of lines, but he's in the movie. And then I basically Warren Beatty's character. Eventually, like I said, he wants to cancel the assassinate or the hitman thing, and basically he goes to this black neighborhood where Halle Berry's character lives. There's a scene where a bunch of kids are trying to ask him if he wants to buy some drugs from them, and those characters are working for Don Cheadle's character, who is a neighborhood basically dealer. It's really funny because he takes them. They're like, hey, looking to buy? He's like, nah, but then he takes them to buy some ice cream, and they're eating the ice cream, and Bulworth is going back to do whatever he's going to do, and police roll on this group of kids, and then Bulworth basically comes to the rescue, gets them out of trouble. Like I said, this is why it's kind of a somewhat relevant film, even 25 years later, if some of these issues are still a thing. But he brings them back to where Don Cheadle is. Don Cheadle is like, oh, thanks for looking after these kids, and then he goes and does one final press conference. And he hasn't been sleeping a whole lot in the movie. His character is kind of strung out for several days. He's super hungry because he hasn't been eating, he hasn't been sleeping. He sleeps. I don't know how long he sleeps for, but he basically stays at a house and I think the votes are in, and I think people are writing him in for a presidential nomination at some point. So I think it's very assumed that he basically wins his re-election. And then at the end of the film, he's getting into a car. Halle Berry's character is getting into the car, and he does get shot. And the character that is apparently was somebody that wanted him to vote. I think it was either for or against some insurance company bill to basically keep insurance companies regulate them. And that character is played by Paul Sorvino. So it's implied that he basically shoots Bulworth. You see him. You don't really see blood or anything. You just see a shot go off, and you see him collapse. And then the final scene of the movie is there's this one character that was saying, "Don't be a ghost, be a spirit," or something along those lines. And you see kind of the outside of a hospital. So it's kind of left open-ended if his character survived or not, or Warren Beatty's character survived or not. So it's left kind of open. That's basically the plot. Let me see. It was nominated for, in the 1999 Academy Awards, was nominated for Best Original Screenplay or Best Screenplay for stuff that was written directly for the screen. That it didn't win. What ended up winning was Shakespeare in Love in the 1999 Academy Awards. It has an excellent soundtrack, and I don't know if the soundtrack is complete. Like, if you bought the CD, if you got everything. Because I remember, unless they maybe have changed music on the streaming versions, I'm not really sure. Maybe there's some like licensing deals that were no longer like in place. Because there's a bunch of songs that I heard in the movie when I watched it a couple nights ago that aren't actually on the soundtrack album. So the soundtrack was released, let's see here, April 21st, 1998. And I think the big hit that came out of this, or the big song, was probably Ghetto Superstar. I remember like hearing that like a lot that summer into the fall. That was probably like the big song that came off of that album. But what's listed on here on the soundtrack album that you can purchase is, maybe not purchase, but that was released, is track 1 is Zoom by Dr. Dre and LL Cool J. Track 2 is Ghetto Superstar. That's performed by Praz, Ogene, ODB, and Maya. You have How Come, performed by Cannabis in Yusu Indoor. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. There's a song just called Bulworth, which is performed by Method Man, KRS-One, and Prodigy and Cam. Track 5 is Holiday/12 Scanner, which is by Witch Doctor. You have The Chase, performed by RZA, was of Wu-Tang fame. You have track 7, you have Eve of Destruction, performed by Eve. You have track 8 is Maniac and the Brainiac, which is Mac 10 and Ice Cube. You have track 10 is Freak Out, which is Nunna Bunna and Anonymous, I think is what it says here. Track 10 is Joints and Jams, performed by the Black Eyed Peas. You have Run, which is by Capadonna. You have track 12 is Lunatics in the Grass, which is performed by Be Real and Sick Jackson. You have track 13 is Kill 'Em Live by Public Enemy, and track 14 is Bitches and Hustlers 2 by D-Fay, or D-Fine, I think is how it's pronounced. But I definitely remember recognizing there was another Ice Cube song on there. Cypress Hill's Insane in the Brain was in, well, at the very least in the movie, maybe not licensed to be on the soundtrack. Yeah, but there was like a few songs that I definitely that were definitely not on that list. The soundtrack is really good. The movie is also quite good. It was actually better than I thought it was going to be. I think if I were to rate it like out of a 5, I would have given it like a 4 out of 5 or something like that. It's pretty good, and like I said, the movie is still somewhat like politically, like culturally, probably relevant given what's going on like currently. So like it definitely feels like it was written, obviously came out in 1998, but is still kind of pertinent to kind of our times now. It's an excellent movie. Like it's got a really good cast. So you got Warren Beatty, you got Halle Berry, Paul Sorvino, Oliver Platt is in this, Don Cheadle's in this. Definitely a lot of like really good actors. Like I said, Sean Austin's in it. His role is pretty small, but he's in the movie as well. But yeah, it's a really interesting, just like political movie. It's kind of like a dark comedy or black comedy, whatever you want to call it. But overall, I actually enjoyed it. I had not seen it up to this point. I kind of knew of its existence from the trailers that I used to see back before it came out, and by hearing about some of the songs off the soundtrack over like that summer and into the fall. But that's about it. But it's overall, I would recommend that it's pretty good overall. So that's going to do it for this episode. We'll be back again in a couple days, probably with another video. Probably would say we did an album. This is our movie. We'll probably be doing another video game video next. Don't know what game we're going to be doing, but video game, and then we'll be starting the cycle all over again with like another album, another movie, and another video game. So that's going to do it for now. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one. See ya.